I cannot believe it. We have officially finished month one of the Cash or Crash Challenge. Now, month one was all about building a local Facebook marketplace reselling business. And today, we're about to recap everything. We're about to share the ups and the downs, the cash in and the crash in and everything in between. But I'm going to remind you here, each week, we are going to be giving you a weekly update. And at the end of the month, I'm going to give you a final verdict, a summary of the month, a final tally of the numbers and the time spent. But Cash or Crash is simple. Cash or Crash is a year-long experiment where every month I'm going to build a new business from scratch. Some are going to be boring, some are going to be exciting, some are going to be things that I've done, some things are going to be things I've never done before. And the goal of this is to answer one question: did it make money? So with that said, let's get into this recap. I got a lot to share with you because this month was enlightening, but most importantly, I couldn't have had a better start to this experiment. I mean, I've had so much fun and so much has come from it. And the best part is, and the thing that we always forget in life is that when you do something different, unexpected things happen, things that you can't have anticipated earlier on. And so I'm really excited to share some of these things with you. But with that said, we're going to talk about the top highlights. We're going to talk about education. We're going to talk about the time and, of course, the financial reveal. So some of the top highlights from this month is I started with really no experience learning about this. And one of the top highlights was actually just doing it and committing to it. A lot of times when people start something in January or they start a year-long experiment, they start with day one and they're on fire, day two on fire, day three on fire, and they fizzle out. Not us. And I want to thank you because a lot of people who watch this were so excited about this to follow along and to be a part of this. So me actually doing it and selling completely random things was freaking awesome. The next highlight that I want to share with you is we sold some crazy things. If you would have told me at the beginning of the month that I would have sold what I'm about to share with you, I would have thought you were crazy. That's the beauty of this. I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what I would attempt to flip and to sell. And so we sold baby accessories. We sold weights, kettlebells, dumbbells. We sold furniture and we sold computer monitors. I mean, there is a wide range of things that we sold and it was awesome. It was absolutely freaking awesome. And the coolest part about it is the things that I was maybe the least aware of had the biggest profits on them, right? And that's the coolest thing because I didn't even need to know much about the item. I just needed to know what was the right deal. And the more I do this, the more I'm going to be able to figure that out. The next highlight from this month was when my dad introduced me to the auctions. I mean, this was so fun. I love fantasy sports and doing auction drafts. And so the fact that I could do a real live auction with real live money, but in a way that wasn't going to cost me a lot, was so fun. And that's how we got the chairs. We got these 4 amazing bar stools and I got 18 kettlebells, right? I got a little excited. But that was what was so fun. And that was a really cool highlight is figuring out a different way to acquire these items at sale. And I learned a ton, okay? Another really big highlight for me was that I got to reconnect with a friend. Shout out Joel, if you see this, you're the man. But as I was doing this, people were saying, "Oh my gosh, I did reselling, I did this," and Joel's a machine. This dude is an awesome dude who sold a lot of workout equipment, and so he showed me some of the ropes and how to look for deals and what were some of the measurements. And so big shout out to Joel for helping me out throughout that experience. And then one of the other big highlights was that I got to connect with my audience in a different way. I talk a lot about books and how books can help you build your business and how to grow and be an entrepreneur. But talking about Cash or Crash and going back to the beginner's mindset, that was freaking sweet. And people were really able to connect, both in terms of just seeing a different side of me, but they were also able to be inspired by what I was doing. And I had 2 people that I know of this month that took what I shared throughout this experience and they started selling things of theirs, or they started using what I was talking about to try to do their own flips. And I think that's so cool. That's what it's all about, isn't it? You know, you do something and some people are going to laugh at you and think you're crazy and idiotic for doing it. And other people are going to be like, "Oh, wait, I could do that. Let me try it out." And so these were just some of the top highlights and just having to start to a successful challenge. I just think that after a month of doing this, we got a lot of exciting things, and there's going to be bigger and better cashes and crashes. So let's talk about what I learned and go through some of the educational pieces throughout this experience. I'm going to keep these pretty topical too, in terms of I'm not going into what I learned about kettlebells, but I'm going to keep it topical to what I learned to the challenge. the first thing is reselling, and building a reselling business is a huge, huge, huge opportunity because you can resell almost anything. I mean, I resold a baby accessory that I knew nothing about, and that was awesome. I resold gym equipment. I resold computer monitors, bar stools that I found. I resold them for almost 10x a return. Like, that's awesome. And there are so many things. And what I learned was that you want to find something that you're either really passionate about, or you want to find a few things that you know you can get great deals on. And then you just focus in on those, and you can save yourself a lot of time because you're not trying to find a million different things on a million different categories. And that's something that I thought was really, really valuable. One thing that I learned and I wish I would have done was I should have spent more time early on in finding mentorship and finding community versus getting super lasered super quickly. So with this challenge, I just jumped right in and I worked with ChatGPT and some AI platforms to try to help me identify and shorten my research process. And that was so helpful. But what I didn't do is talk to a lot of people who have already done this. And I think that's a lesson that, in my normal business life, I'm not looking for how to do it. I'm looking for who can help me do it better. And so as I move forward, that's a great reminder for me is that, yes, I only have 30 days, or in February, I only have 28 days, but I got to go and spend the early time doing research and trying to connect with some people, pay to get some information, and shorten the process of knowing what it's going to take to be successful. And I met some really cool people. Once I found this community, I joined this mastermind. It was a reseller mastermind. It was like $5 a month, and it was awesome. I connected with some people, and they gave me a couple pieces of advice. Had I known that advice earlier, I think I could have been a lot more successful. On top of all that, I learned that there are so many different ways to buy items at bulk. So you have Facebook Marketplace and OfferUp, but then you have things like auction sites, and then you have things like B stock, which is like pallet liquidation, and you could buy things for pennies on the dollar. But what I also learned is that having storage space is key. If you want to move the bigger items and put yourself into a more niche category, you want to have more storage space. There were couches that I could have gotten for free that easily would have sold for a couple $100. Easily. I mean, I had somebody who was like, Jake, I want to give you this couch if you can get it today. I bought this a year ago for $1,500. I just have to move it out by today. But I didn't have the ability to pick it up. It didn't work out timing wise. There's a lot of money to be made here. So these were just some of the things that I learned. And I think that reselling is a great opportunity for people, especially if you want to make some extra money on the side. I think that it could be great. And if you really want to build a business, I think it could be awesome because I think it's also repeatable if you start in your local region, and then you could find people to do it in various different places and create a commission structure and a profit sharing structure. Like, there's a lot of cool ways that I think you could build this and scale it. And that's why there are people out there with $1 million+, $10 million+ reselling businesses. All right, let's move on to the time. So the question that I want to ask ourselves as we do the final verdict round, as we do the final weekly recap is, was it worth it timing wise? In order to know if it was worth it, we need to discuss, well, what was the time spent? What was the average time? So how much time did we spend? What was the total time? For the month, we spent 22.3 hours working on this reselling business. Now, I allocated 10 plus hours per week, 10 hours per week. So I had over 40 hours for this month, but I only used 22.3 hours per month. And I'll be honest, I think I could have put in more effort if I was really trying to achieve a certain target goal. But I think I understood from my experiment, from the experience that I had, I think that 22.3 hours gave me enough time to understand what this is really all about and what I would do differently or what I would do more of if I were to continue this. So I think something I need to do going forward is identify, like, am I trying to make as much money as possible? Am I trying to just be profitable and learn? Or is this more about a learning experience to see what I want to do next and the time isn't as relevant? So I also think Facebook Marketplace is pretty standard, right? You don't have to file for a business. You don't have to create a website. You don't have to create a logo. You don't have to really try to acquire customers. It's all built in, which all of those are pros, by the way. Those are all positive things because they save me so much time. And if your customers are already there, it makes it very easy to sell something that's in demand. And this was just in my 5-mile radius from where I live. That's the craziest thing. All right. So the last 2 weeks of the challenge, I got to be honest here, was that I focused on really selling the inventory versus getting more and trying to make more flips. I could have gone one way or another, but the truth of the matter is that I had a lot going on in my main business, helping people write books. And I also had a couple of travel experiences. But the real reason why I didn't want to keep buying things and trying to sell them was because I bought 18 freaking kettlebells at the auction. And a lesson learned, you don't need to buy 18 of anything probably, but I bought 18 of them. I sold 9 by the time the challenge was done. And you'll hear a little more about how this impacted the revenue, but I think that that's something worth noting is that had I not had those, I would have been able to spend the last 2 weeks really focusing on buying and flipping a few more items versus trying to just offload them and recoup that cost. So lessons learned, right? This is what it's all about. And so I'd say overall so far, we have been cashing, not crashing. All right, the big question, the number one question of the challenge, did it make money? The answer to that is yes, folks. The answer to that is yes, and let's break it down. We spent $535.75. We spent $500.75 on equipment, and we spent $5 on education. All right. Could have spent more on that. Could have been more involved on that front. Our revenue as of the end of January, okay, and I want to keep it as honest as possible here, is $800. So we did $800 in revenue. We spent $535. The projected revenue on the table, I think this is super, super important, is there's conservatively $270 left. That is 9 kettlebells at an average of $30, which is currently the rate. I'm selling these for more, but I want to try to offload them, so I'm trying to just sell them for barely above what we paid for them. And so the projected revenue on the table is $270. So what does that mean? The total profit as of January 31st is $264.25. The projected revenue when I sell everything, or projected profit, when I sell everything, will be $534.25. Now, when you factor in the hourly rate based on all of this, it will be about $22 an hour. So I think that this is worth noting. Like, what is your current job? What is the amount you want to make per hour? And this is that. Now, I think it's also really important to note this, that a lot of these hours were spent during education and researching and trying to learn. If you actually continue doing this, and you, of course, always keep learning, but I'll definitely spend, if I did this in future months, I'll spend less time on the learning side than I did this month. And so your hourly rate would probably increase because I'd be able to do more buying and selling. So I think that's something really important to know. But overall, we made money in this challenge. We made hundreds of dollars. We were using that money for fun money and treating myself and taking my wife out. And so I think it was so fun to do this challenge. Also to make a profit. And so we absolutely, this month, was it cash or crash? The answer to that is cash. This is a cash month, and we are very, very excited about it. And so the final question I want to answer is, would I do it again? Would I do this again? Yeah, abso-freaking-lutely. If I needed a business, if I had to start from scratch today, and I had no skills in the work that I currently do of helping people write and launch books, and I was just starting from ground zero, and all I had was a laptop or even my phone, this is a business that I would absolutely do again. I loved it. I had a ton of fun with it. I see the potential of it, and it is ripe for the taking. I honestly, I think this is going to be part of my lifestyle where I'll check when I have 5 minutes or so. I'll check Facebook Marketplace, see if there's a deal locally to me in the criteria that I built out through this experiment. And if it is, I'll go buy it. I'll pick it up and I'll try to resell it. So, and I won't have a timeline, so I won't have to just sell right away. I could have it longer and hold it longer if I want to. So that's the challenge. That is week one, or that is month one, and I'm so proud of this month, and I'm so grateful for this month, and I'm really, really excited. And so with that said, let's talk about month two. Month two of the Cash or Crash Challenge is we're going to be building a junk removal business. This one's going to piggyback off the reselling business because some of the junk we may get, we may be able to resell. We're going to see. We're going to find out. This is the most unknown. I'm going to get my hands dirty. Let's see what we can do in February. But this is the month one recap, Cash or Crash, of building a local Facebook Marketplace reselling business. Let's go.